You are listening to Larry Conners, USA.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Conners USA. Larry Conners USA.
I woke up this morning, got myself a gun. Mama always said I'd be the chosen one.
China's not an enemy, and I think that's important for people to clearly understand. China is a rising power. We're seeing a significant increase in Chinese military capabilities over the last 10 to 20 years. And they are going to develop themselves and are developing themselves into a great power. That is not to say, however, that they are an enemy.
They are not an enemy. That's according to General Milley back in 2015. This is September the 17th, 2021. Again, that remark was from General Milley in 2015. And, of course, more recent developments have a report, according to a book by Bob Woodward and a co-author, that General Milley had two separate conversations with his Chinese counterpart before the November election, and another conversation during, or shortly after the January 6th so-called insurrection, as the left wants to call it all the time. That's not insurrection. Let them have their word game, have their fun with it. It was wrong. It's unpatriotic. Those that took an active part in it should be prosecuted. Others who just wandered in, didn't know what was going on. But you've got members of Congress saying those that took part in that January 6th thing are worse than the Taliban. And yet here is General Milley saying in 2015, China is not an enemy. Now, maybe let's give him the benefit. Maybe he's just trying to do a good PR spin because we don't want them to get upset with us. As if it would make them more upset and have less interest in world dominion if we said they're very good people. And the people are. But we're talking about the Chinese Communist government. That's the issue. That's the enemy. We're going to get into this in more detail. And, of course, in the midst of all this, we still have the Afghan debacle that's going on. And for all this reason, between what happened with Afghanistan and not getting all of our Americans out, how many Americans are still there, you ask? I don't know. We're not being told by the State Department, the White House, the Pentagon, because they don't know. They don't know either. And when it comes to vetting the Afghans that we're bringing into the country, that's not working either. Because they've even admitted, Secretary of State Blinken, we will vet them after they arrive in the U.S. That's kind of stupid and a little late, don't you think? But Biden is glad to have all this noise about General Milley and that Bob Woodward book, anything to distract from what's going on with Afghanistan and what he did wrong. Also, how he's now beginning to punish red states if they're not pushing his vaccine mandates. That's right. How's he doing that? Well, they are shutting off the delivery of the anti-monoclonal bodies, shutting them down to states that need them, and that we're going to rely on them. They're just flat deciding that, you know what, if you're not going to follow my vax mandate, we'll shut down all your shipments of monoclonal antibody treatments, or at least a major part of them. People could suffer and die from that. Biden doesn't care. It's punishing red states and the unvaxxed. There's more talk of vax documentation existing in the U.S. that you have to have a proof and a legitimate something, not just on a piece of paper. And then you've got members on the left side, the state-controlled media, saying maybe we need to treat the unvaxxed, not just shame them, but treat them like DUI, drunk drivers. There's no concern at all about some of the new fears that some people are seeing with the vaccination, especially for women, pregnant women. Dr. Rick Lehman is going to join us a little bit later, head of the U.S. Center for Medical Sports Science. Going to talk about the latest on the vaccinations and some of the concerns, and, of course, the testimony that took place between Olympians before Congress yesterday, talking about how the FBI ignored their cries that they were being molested at the time by Dr. Nasser, the U.S. Olympics coach. And more Democrat hypocrisy. A Chicago crime story is going to have you shaking your head, I promise. But I also promise to end today on something that will give you a smile. Maybe. It's funny, but it's not so funny. You have to be the judge of this one. I think it's worth a smile, even though it's a fact that it's true and it's not so funny. I'll explain. Lock and load. Ready on the right.
You can email Larry at LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com. LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com.